Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, it's like hot outside now all of a sudden. This summer thing snuck up on us. It was 90 2 days ago. A little bit better today. But I don't want to talk about the weather. Tell you what we do want to talk about is tonight's episode. Hey, we are talking about our coaching staff not being on the same page. And this doesn't mean like not all agreeing on the same stuff. This is like we can't communicate. We don't have the same lingo. We're not able to effectively teach assistant coaches and such what they need to do. So that's what we're going to work in tonight. We're going to start with how to install a program-wide communication system. Okay. We're going to talk about using that system no matter what position you have right now. Maybe you're just a linebacker's position coach. We're going to teach you how to use that system now to get what you need from your coordinator so you can be successful this fall. And then realistically getting that spread throughout the whole coaching staff, because obviously if you aren't getting what you need, other people will probably realize that too. So we're going to simplify all that back down for you so the whole staff can be on the same page. That's what we're doing tonight. Let's go level up here, Joe. What's your level up?
I did my weightlifting competition this past weekend. First, getting back to it. Oh, that's a little bit off. I've talked before. If regular listeners know, I did it in January, and I'd just been out for so long through football season and a 2-year-old and all those kinds of things. And January was just a chance to get back on a platform, and I would probably consistently train for maybe a month before. And so I wanted to get back on a platform, and I've been very, very consistent in my training, as I talked about last time. And got out this weekend. Didn't get I didn't get any. I had 3 goals. So I had a guy that I needed to beat. That I had to beat last time by 1 kilo when I was trying to just lay up, and he was in this competition as well. So I was like, all right, here we go. This is my chance. And I knew I was much, much better than I was last time going in. And so I had that. That was job number 1. Job number 2 was I want to get back over a 200 kilo total, which would qualify me for several different things. Qualifies me for next year's, because it just happened this year. Qualifies me for next year's Masters Nationals. I believe it will qualify me for Pan Ams as well, which also this year's Pan Am's qualifying date was the day before the competition. So I'm qualified for next year's Pan Am's. I wasn't going to turn around and do these things right away, but
right.
So qualifies me for some national meets and international meets and stuff, but at my age bracket. But and then I just wanted to be in a position to take a shot at some PRs. Basically, what I needed to do is I needed to hit my openers, my first lifts, and that I was pretty sure that if I hit my openers, it would win it. Turns out the guy, I went up 16 kilos on my total, which is 34, 35 pounds. He went up 10. So I thought that if I just made my openers based on what he had done last time, I would dust him and it wouldn't be a problem. Ended up it was enough, but not by as much as I thought. And so then I hit I missed both of my snatch. My snatch was all over the place. It was not good. My snatch I powered my first one. It fell apart the last week before the competition. That's one of those things. These are very simple movements you do over and over again, but if you get in your head on them, they fall apart very quickly. And I'm sure everybody's had those experiences of it's like not as bad as Mackie Sasser and Chuck Knobloch, and all of a sudden I can't throw the ball from second base to first base. But
right,
it's getting in those that's the little head game that happens, and
so you got the yips.
Yeah, you get the yips, and all of a sudden you're thinking about every little thing. So it didn't go great. I know I'm very strong on that, but I've got to get the technique back down. But I made my second. I made my first and made my second on. I made my first on snatch, so I got my opener, and I made my second on first and second on clean and jerk, and then that allowed me to take a shot at a PR on clean and jerk, and just missed a PR. So I had a 200 kilo total, 201 kilo total. Had a shot at a PR, so hit all my goals, hit all the things that I was working toward, and now just got a little longer layoff. We usually have a summer meet, which we're not doing now, so I think I got a little longer layoff till the fall. And I'm looking forward to seeing what 4, 5, 6 months of consistent training getting back to those PRs and then going well past them. I still think, I think it's funny because I know that the great thing about weightlifting is it's a technique sport. I know that my strength far surpasses my technique.
Right.
That like it's not like I'm getting too old where I can't do these things because I'm old. My technique is not as good as it should or could be. And so that it's kind of one of those things where, like, as in other sports, your skills would be declining. And I'm sure other people who are, if somebody was a very good technically at my age, they would probably be declining. They would be declining, and their body would be falling apart if they've been doing this, since they were there however long. But I'm excited to see. I think I'm going to hit some good numbers here in the next 6 months to a year.
I'm just excited that other guy is improving also. It sounds like he was like, oh, okay.
Oh, rising tide lifts all ships.
Yep. Yeah, but he's got to go do the thing, and now you got to keep doing the thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's just going to fall further and further behind because he's not like me. But it's nice of him to try. I mean, it's nice of him to make it so I can't just completely lay up.
Right.
And also probably, so the weight classes are changing. So this will be interesting. The weight classes were 89, 96, 102. And now they're changing to 88. So kilos, that's 89 is like 189 pounds. Or no, 196 pounds. 181 is 181 pounds, something like that. One of them comes right out. It's really weird, but 89 is like 196, and 215. 96 is like 212 or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers, but like
right.
The new class is gonna be 88 and 98, so it's a wider range. But it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you do kilograms, that's 96 to 98 is 4.5 pounds.
Right.
So it's significant if you're in a weight control sport. It's significant. So
looks like you're at 194 to 216 now. Like that's a huge split. 12 pounds is
right. And like I've been at 96, but I've usually weighed in at like 93. And I don't want to fill out 98. I did it because I could, but I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm going to get back to probably 88.
You get to sandbag them, like the lower, if you weigh less, you win. If you tie or whatever, is that how it works?
There's a Sinclair score element that includes like the Sinclair score is like, I think that comes into play if you tie, but I'm not positive. I mean, the reality is I'm going to be doing almost entirely local meets. And I'd like to compete at nationals, but if it's a pretty crowded nationals field, I'm not at that level yet. Maybe I could get on a podium, but I'm not at that level yet. And quite honestly, if all the people who are at that level show up, it's more of a war of attrition for me to get on a platform than it is. I'm not going to suddenly jump up to those national level numbers. I can qualify. I can fill out a meet. I can maybe, if some guys make mistakes, get on a platform, get on a podium. But to win it, it's a war of attrition right now. Gotcha. Whose body doesn't break down soonest. So, but yeah, like it does factor in. Most of the time, it's just me in those meets. Now I've got another guy. I don't know where he's going to go, but I don't want to be. It's just mentally like 215 to 1. Like I'm a 195 guy. Like I should be around 195, not 215.
Right. Well, excellent, man. Well, I look forward to seeing more medals on the Darth Vader back there.
Oh yeah, they didn't give out medals, so I have no new medal.
You went through all that and you didn't get medal.
I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, you can just order a custom one online.
I will. I won.
There
should be another, but just imagine another medal up there.
Imagine another one. I have a 2-part level up as always because life is just really busy for us right now, and if I don't use it this week, I'll forget. First one's a funny story, and this is really a level up in our homestead more than coaching because it didn't make me a better coach, but it's one of those funny things. So we live on some land, and my neighbors to the south and to the east of me have some more land, and we have to burn it off every couple of years to get rid of. Number one, I've lost 300 chickens in 5 years to raccoons, foxes, stray dogs, hawks, the works. So we've lost a lot of. I have 2 hens right now, and we're trying to hatch out 20, so we can just And this will be like, I think we've hatched almost 100 this year or something. Things just keep eating our birds. Anyway, so we burned out the holler right behind my house, which is, just full of trees and leaves and dead stuff, to try to get rid of raccoons and foxes, and we just need to clean it up. So we set fire, used the wind, did all the things. I learned some fire control. I went with a guy that works wildlands fire stuff, so he was teaching me a ton about controlling it and, like, obviously prepping the area so you can maintain, like, control the fire, send it where you want it, etc. And everything's so green, it only burns the leaves and moves on, or, like, dead limbs, stuff like that. It won't burn the green grass hardly. So we do that. We set a big holler on fire, and we're working it. And so I came over by my house to clean up a fence line. Started a fire, and I got a phone call. And I told them, hey, I'm going to go work this little area for just a minute. I'll be back. And they called me and said, hey, this one out here is getting out of control. We need your help. So I jump on my little side-by-side, and I cruise over to help them put out a fire. We get it controlled. It wasn't that bad, but it could have gotten crazy. And I was like, I have to go back and check my little fire, because I had set it, and right next to where I'd set it, my little phone box, so it come like a podium or whatever. Ours is green, stands out of the ground about 3 feet. It's where all of my fiber optics comes in for my internet.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I don't want that, obviously, to catch on fire. That'd be a bad deal. It was gone. It was a puddle of melted goo when I got back. They just got it redone today. Like, I had no internet at the house for the last 24 hours because
They got it done quick.
So fast. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
So fast. It will be a good story to tell. It will probably end up costing us money, which is
Sure.
Lessons learned. I'll have to replace all that. Luckily, it's all just plastic and
Right.
not too big of a deal.
Wires and
But
stuff.
I'll be complaining about it in a couple of weeks when it goes on my bill. But I know that extreme ownership, right? Like, it was 100% my fault, and it sucks. But yeah. Being a better dad, however, I do have a level up. So we got Beckett a 4-wheeler, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, whatever, and he's been riding around. And it's like a youth model. It's a 50cc Yamaha, so it has, you can set the governor on it. So the governor lets it go like 7 miles per hour. And you take the governor off, and it's like 15 miles an hour, which is cool, right? Both good stage, good step up. But I didn't really know when I was going to take the governor off. And when he's been showing a ton of confidence lately, like he turned 7 next month, and he's just like, his self-confidence is just skyrocketing right now. So we went out today to go ride, and he got on it and throttled it out, whopping 7 miles an hour. And he was like, Dad, can you put this in fast mode? And I was like, no. Yes, I can. So we took it off, and you just have the like, oh God, this can go so bad. Like, there's so much fence around and cars and a camper trailer, the house. I was like, all right, dude, here's the thing. You got to put around here a little bit and get used to the new speed. And he's like, okay. And he did. Within 30 minutes, he rolled it over. And it was like, he went off of a little embankment and then tried to turn at the bottom where it has like a ditch, and it just, gravity got him. And luckily, I was right behind him on a dirt bike, so I was able to shut it down and basically just get back on that horse, man. Stand it up. Leg don't be broke, arm don't, no wrist, nothing stupid, but stand it up. And I literally just grabbed him, made sure he could stand, put his butt right back on there, like, all right, go. And he was like, if I'd have been there 10 more seconds, I probably would have cried. You know what I mean? Like, he was that fright of, oh God, what happened? But man, we just snapped him right up, let him fail, got him right back on it, and he was ripping and roaring the rest of the day. So
nice.
A lot of fun, a lot of teaching moment, definitely see that kind of stuff in football too, when your kids fail and you just got to get them right back out there.
Yeah.
My corners never do rebound. They give up deep balls and cover 3 all the time, and they just freak out. But whatever. Maybe from now on, I'll treat them like Beckett. I don't know. Anyway, that's my level up. So it was a fun weekend. Let's pay some bills here, and then we'll get back to it.
Cool. All right. The difference between a championship defense and a defense that is struggling every Friday night is not just talent. It is not luck. It is the system. Without a system, you scramble every week trying to fix your problems on the fly. Your players are confused. Your assistants are not on the same page, and your defense is consistently playing from its heels. I've worked with thousands of football coaches who were making the same mistakes, overcomplicating football, running a stack of plays with no reasoning behind it, just calling fronts, stunts, blitzes, and coverages from the seat of your pants. Once we get those coaches putting a real defensive system in place, everything changes. The players play faster, the coaches have more confidence, and you start winning more football games. That's why I put together my latest free guide called What You Need to Know to Build Your Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. Inside that guide, you're going to get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. Go download your free copy right now at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season. Again, go to joedanielfootball.com/system.
You're so good at that. I want to go back there now, and I've got it. I just need to go buy it right now. It's good stuff.
My mother-in-law tells me I should be like a radio.
Yeah. Should record ads for the radio.
I don't really want to work for anybody.
Touche. Athleticspeedmovement.com. Bottom line up front, we want to make your kids faster. That's all the kids. I know we tell you every single time, right? We're working O-line back to quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, whatever your kids are. Really what I want to focus on this week in this episode is just talking about how we're taking kids who have no body awareness, teaching them where their body is, right? Joe said it many times, that first 5 weeks is really just teaching kids how to run. Then you get to do the full tilt and boogie after that. 12-week program. You can put all your kids through. You can put them through in stages. In fact, when Dell taught it to me, he talked about every kid's on their own stage at a different time, right? More the personal training than what Dell's running it. You can just put everybody on the same progression. Absolutely can do that and keep it minimal, keep it simple. We're always talking about simplifying things. But if you have a kid that just needs extra work in a certain stage, you can continue working him there. Take those kids. Look, my 7-year-old has talked about him, right? He's figuring out life right now as his body grows, and he's already can start looking oddly body whenever he tries to run. So I understand where you guys are at. I have the kids too. The freshman who grows 6 inches over the summer for whatever reason. We get those guys too. Athleticspeedmovement.com. We teach you how to get that kid back in a good running form where he understands where his body is. He can maintain that athletic stance. And then, of course, we're talking football movements. This isn't track speed. We want football speed on the football field on Friday nights. Very little of that is the old long stride, just run the 100. Very, very, very little. We want to teach them how to run between the tackles, how we talked about O-line, pull and kick, tight ends. Man, tight ends are more hybrid than ever. He needs to be able to use his body to block. He's got to understand the physics of that. And then we need to be able to hit on routes and go catch the ball. So athleticspeedmovement.com. Get your kids the fastest that you've ever had this year.
It's funny, just talking about that real quick, is the way that Athletic Speed and Movement does that and teaches your players body control on a football field. What a lot of coaches try to do to get that body control is get their kids to wrestle. And wrestling is great. I coached wrestling. I love wrestling. Wrestling is freaking hard. And most of your kids are not going to do it. And even worse if you don't have a wrestling program in your school, or you're a youth coach and that's not an option, or
right.
you don't have a good wrestling program. You have a wrestling program that's disorganized. I know we had one team in this area who they won a lot because the wrestling coach would literally take the 5 guys who had a chance to win state and he would coach them, and we would put the other 20 guys on the other side of the mat and just go do a drill. It's yeah, wrestling's good, but not that way.
Right.
But your guys that don't want to wrestle, the amount of body control, and if you look at young kids understanding where their body is and knowing what's happening, this is a huge step for them. So yeah, athleticspeedandmovement.com. It's better than wrestling for some kids.
There you go. I kind of forgot to talk about last week's topic and next week. So last week we talked about how to beat teams that have more talent than you by simplifying the game of football, working run fits. We're doing all the little things right and beat those teams that have more talent than you. Next week, we'll be talking a lack of toughness and physicality on our football team. We've all kind of been there. I know I've had teams like that where I had a starting middle linebacker that was a senior that was big, looked the part, would not fill a hole to save his life. Wouldn't do it. It's the ultimate blitz him to get him to play football linebacker.
Yeah.
We have those kids. Check in next week to see how we can solve that problem and get all your kids getting downhill. All right, man, let's talk this week's topic. So we're doing a little bit with our coaches aren't all on the same page. So first thing we have to do is just get everyone speaking the same lingo. How do we do that, Joe? How do we take and install a program-wide communication system so that coaches can communicate with each other? We understand the plan, we see the vision, and realistically, we got to talk to kids too.
And that's the big thing with this is when we're talking about coaches not being on the same page. That's really, really important. The biggest way to sabotage your team, the easiest way to sabotage your team, is to have coaches not speaking the same language, because you're going to create confusion with your kids, or worse, you're going to create kids going, "Oh, well, I listen to this coach, I don't listen to this coach." That's not good.
Right.
So we need our coaches speaking the same language and being on the same page. I hate this happens a lot when we make assumptions. When we make assumptions and maybe just go, because we come from a lens of what we've learned in football and what we've done, and we go, "Oh, well, he's the force player. You just go out there, you just contain, right? Yeah, he's contain." And everybody knows what contain is, right? Don't let anybody get outside of you. And I've talked before about the when I first came up coaching. It was like my first year, I think, first or second year. We had a kid, it was my first year, and we had a kid who was a sophomore. We were running a 4-4 defense, and I was marginally the defensive line coach, with a coordinator overseeing what I did to make sure I didn't screw it up, right? And I remember we put this kid as a sophomore in, good athlete, good wrestler too, by the way, just on a side note. He was a sophomore, and he was a pretty good athlete, smart kid though. He's in biology or something now. Like that's what he does professionally. Like he went to school around here, and I've seen him since then.
It's a good major, biology.
But we put him out there, and we said, "Hey, you get out there. You're the contained player. Don't let anybody get outside of you." Got it, coach. Boom, ball snap. He runs to the bottom of the numbers. Nobody got outside of him.
That's right.
It's like, "James, what are you doing?" Coach said, "Don't let anybody get outside of me." They went so far inside of me, like, because they were 15 yards from me. They ran off tackle, dummies. So like that's communication. Like that's, but like that happens with coaches too. And I get frustrated sometimes with it because I'll I have my lens on all the things that I've done, and I'll say, "You want this? You want this? You want this?" And the coach says, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." And I've done this for years, right? So when a coach says, so I know the miscommunications that happen working with thousands of coaches. And I'm not talking about coaching for years. I'm talking about talking to thousands of coaches and getting terminology and things. And I'll try to do my best, but then we'll go out and we'll do it. And then a couple of days later, a week later, something happens, and that other coach didn't understand, or I didn't understand, or somewhere we missed, and we'll be like, "Oh, we were not on the same page." And that will be confusing to the kid, because then you have to tell the kid something new, or somebody's already yelled, like the kid got yelled at for something that you told him to do. The offensive coordinator yelled at him because the offensive line coach told him something, or vice versa.
Right.
That's really an easy way to sabotage your football program. The tool that we use to solve that problem is ASKA. So, and that is the best tool that I can give you to solve the problem of not being on the same page. Is to take the time, position by position, to write out, look at, understand, and test your ASKA. So ASKA is alignment, stance. On the defensive side of the ball, it's alignment, stance, key read, and assignment. Where do I stand? How do I stand there? Who do I look at? Based on what who I'm looking at does, what do I do? Alignment, stance, key read, assignment. On offense, it is alignment, stance, the same. What's my split? What's my depth? All of those sorts of things. How do I stand there? Where do I stand? How do I stand? And then we talk about communication and keys. So on offense, it can be keys and communication. We use both of those because in order to figure out, especially from an offensive line standpoint, because I always build around the offensive line, I don't know exactly who I'm looking at or who I'm blocking until we talk through it.
Right.
I know where to stand. I know how to stand there. Then I've got to figure out who to look at by talking to the rest of the linemen, or talking to the rest of the guys around me, or listening to the quarterback checking coverages or audibling or whatever he does. There are multiple communications that happen pre-snap. So whether it's quarterback communications, offensive line communications, all those things, people to listen to them. You need to hear all, the offensive line maybe communicating a pass protection check to the running back, the quarterback maybe wanting to communicate a look or communicate a route adjustment or communicate an automatic to an uncovered to the receiver. So there's communication for every single player on the offense. And then once I get that communication, that now actually kind of defines my assignment. But what that does is tell me who to look at, where to look at them. So like if I have an offensive lineman and we have our covered uncovered rules on the zone and we do our 0, 1, 2, 3. So we count. He says this is 0, this is the 1. Okay, I've got the 1. The 1 is the first guy, that I'm responsible for. And then I make my communication. Okay, we make a bear call, so I know it's going to be a combo. So I'm going to attack the inside. And then we have our specific aiming points. So backside number on play side number on backside number. Those are the things that we teach for the running back. The running back has an aiming point. Once he knows his outside zone, he doesn't necessarily have to get communication on that outside zone. He knows he's got to look at his key, and his key is the hip of the tight end. And so he's looking at, does that tight end reach the defensive end, or maybe we key the defensive end if we want to. The aiming point is the tight end. The key now becomes the hip of the tight end, and he goes, okay, or the defensive end. And if he reaches the defensive end, I'm going to continue outside. If the defensive end runs outside, I'm going to cut it on the 5th step. And so that's like what he's looking at. And then of course, that is the assignment. If he does, so the key is the defensive end. The assignment is if he's outside, I cut inside. If he's inside, I continue path outside. And so offensively or defensively, we've broken that down to where what used to be a pre-snap checklist, and that's where it came from, was TCU. I feel like it's been around before. It's one of those things this is the unfortunate thing of publishing a lot of stuff and talking about a lot of this stuff for years and years and years is I know that things like umbrella run fit. I know I learned umbrella run fits in ASKA from some bootleg videos that I found online years ago from TCU, and specifically a TCU secondary coach whose name I don't remember because I can't find those videos anymore, under Gary Patterson in their 4-2-5 system at the time. But I've now applied them to every system there is, and now applied them to offense too. I know ASCA existed before. It wasn't the first time I saw it. It wasn't like, oh, that's amazing. It was like, okay, cool. And he talked about some different ways to use it, and I was like, oh, I like that. And so but I know I'd heard it before. But when you Google it, it's all me. So like there's like I cannot find. So like the problem is I want to know where this stuff, I know it existed before I heard it from TCU, before I started talking about it, but because I've talked about it so much and done so much with it, you Google it, it's just always me, or somebody who probably got it from me.
Right.
But which is fine. I didn't invent it, so steal it from me. I don't care. I try to give credit to the people that I learned it from, which is a secondary coach's name I can't remember under Gary Patterson at TCU. So what we do with that system is, again, we used to use a pre-snap checklist where the kids would tell the kids to go through your ASCA. What's your ASCA? Okay, my alignment, my stance, my key read assignment. Where do I stand? How do I stand? Who do I look at? And what do I do after whatever they do? And looking at it, and when I started looking at it under the Coach Simple Play Fast Win model and the Coach Simple philosophy, it was like, this isn't just a checklist for the kids. Like, this is a check on us. If we're doing things the Coach Simple way, then the ASCA is clear to the player, and the player can say, this is my alignment based on whatever alignment rules I have. And how many alignment rules does he have, right? Right. So we then broke that down and said, look, pre-snap, the Mike linebacker looks for one thing. The Will linebacker looks for another thing. The strong safety, this is what we gave. And then now there's a system of communication that we've given out at JDFB before, where every single position has a thing to look for and a thing to communicate based on what they see, that they can learn from just the alignment what to expect. Because now we think like, if I can not guess, but anticipate, hey, based on this alignment. So, a really simple one is receiver alignment. The receiver, I'm a corner. The receiver has an 8-yard split. That's probably an outside breaking route. Number one receiver has an 8-yard split. It's probably an outside breaking route. The receiver has a 16-yard split. That's probably an inside breaking route. So I can start to anticipate, okay, what do they run? What do I know about their offense? Because they don't run 10,000 concepts.
Right.
He's got a 16-yard split. It's a slant. I'm now 70% of my body and my mind and my heart and my soul are playing the slant. And if he does something else, that's cool because he's not in a good alignment to run an out route. He's going to run the sideline. So like that's the kind of things we look for pre-snap. But this became a tool for us to look at Coach Simple philosophy and say this is. But now you can take this and you can lay this out position by position and start with just your base. You know, don't worry about everything else, but just start with your base. So what is the ASKA? So, and essentially what you would do on defense, as an example, is you would say, what is my alignment? What's my base alignment rule? So no crazy stuff. No, not double tights isn't crazy, but it's not common, right? So I'm just in an over front. What's my alignment? If I'm a defensive tackle, strong side defensive tackle in a 4-2-5 defense, I'm a 3 tech, which means outside shade of the guard. And then we can get in deeper to what that means. I wrote a whole newsletter on 3 tech and just like everything. We actually did a whole podcast on interior defensive line alignment recently too, last year, didn't we? So you can get into all that goes into that alignment, right? But I'm a 3 tech. I'm outside shade of the guard. Okay, my stance, inside hand down, inside foot back. As long as I know what that means, that reminds me I get the inside hand down, I get the inside foot back, how deep the stance is, and all. We can get into the detail of it, but quick reminders for them. Okay, so he's going to be a 3 tech. He's going to be inside hand down, inside foot back. What's his key read? His key read is the bottom corner of the outside number. Okay, that's the key read. So all of those things are very, very simple, and they're very, very consistent in my base defense. That 3 tech is that strong side tackle is always outside shade of the guard, inside hand down, inside foot back, key read at the bottom corner of the outside number. It's specific. And then my assignment is my key read drill, right? So my assignment, because of my defensive lineman, it's a little bit different. So my assignment is if he squeezes down, if it's block 2 or block away, essentially block 2, block away or pass. If he goes down inside, I'm going to squeeze, bend, down, block, train wreck, whatever. If he comes at me, I'm going to post hip rip. And if he goes backwards, I'm going to pass rush lane. And of course, we have our key read. We have 5 key reads that we have: down block, base block, reach block, pass set, or screen retrace. I have 5 things that I'm going to do based on that. As a defensive lineman, as a defensive tackle, those are the only 5 things I have to know in this entire world until I start doing wacky stuff like zone blitzes and stuff. I have those 5 things, and that's the only things that I have to know. And they take care of everything. They take care of a zone, inside zone. They take care of an outside zone. They take care of power. They take care of counter. They take care of toss. They take care of triple option. They take care of absolutely everything that you can do to me. I will be able to handle it because of those assignments. Okay, my key is going to tell me which one of those I'm going to carry out. And so when I can break it down with that, if I can break that down as the coordinator and tell my defensive line coach, this is what it is and how it fits into our scheme, which we are umbrella run fits. This is what it is. This is exactly what he does. This is everything you need to know. Don't use any other words, right? Don't, and obviously we give coaches leeway, but like at the end of the day, if you use other words, he better understand these words. Because as the coordinator, these are the words that I'm saying to everyone else. In this assignment, and I should add, for other positions, it's simpler in that their assignment, all we talk about is you are spill or force. So, or your, spill or your pass drop. So if I'm a linebacker, cover 3 linebacker, again, let's go to just 4-2. We can go 3-4. It's the same. I'm a 30 technique. I'm 5 yards off the ball. That's my alignment. So 30 yards or outside shade of the guard, 5 yards off the ball. That's my alignment. My stance is, my dominant foot forward, stagger stance, hands free, eyes up, back flat. My key read is the near guard. So I'm key reading the guard. If he pulls, follow. If he doesn't, fill. My assignment is if I read run, I'm spill. And if I read pass, I'm hook. A hash drop, put 12 to 14 yards. So that's how all of that carries out. And I'm very specific, but it doesn't take long. It's 4 things here. Boom, 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 boom. A couple things on the assignment. But if I can lay all that out and hand that to my assistant coaches and say, this is what you do. This is you're the defensive line coach. Here's the ASCA for these 4 positions on your defensive line, or these 3 positions, or across the board and not front, because they're all doing the same thing basically. Here it is, and I can hand that to them. And so now we have clear communication. We cut out a lot of the confusion.
The what I really like about ASKA is that I think sometimes we accidentally ask kids to do too many things. Whether that is alignment, and sometimes we're telling them like, hey, I need you to be really tight to this tight end, but then we're also yelling at them because how did the running back beat you outside? Why is the tight end reaching you, right? Like, I've been in a defensive system where we're supposed to slam, meaning go right now and hit the outside shoulder of an attached receiver, but we also yell at them for getting reached on outside zone. So it's like your ASCA should allow you to problem solve those things when you realize I'm asking too many things. If I have 2 alignments, we're in trouble. Assignments is the same thing, though. We all have a run and a pass read on defense, right? Like, that's understandable. As long as your key read is simple enough they can get to one or the other. But when you start having them do both, slam a tight end and close D gap right now, or close C gap with his body, oh yeah, but you're also supposed to be in the flats. Like, then you get a little tricky, right? Like,
we get a lot with the overhang safeties, right? I need you to be in a position where you can tackle a B gap run, and oh, by the way, you're also don't let anybody get outside of you.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to defend B gap and not let anybody get outside of me?
Yeah.
The guy that's trying to get outside of me runs a 4.5.
Yeah.
I look at B gap for a half second, he's gone. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we learn from ASCA. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the ability to.
And when you put together that ASCA, you prioritize. You have to prioritize.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
and if you can't, you've got to give go, I need him to do this, 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 and this. It's no his job. So again, if I'm the overhang safety, my job, if I get ball up, it's pass. I go to the flat. If I'm cover 3, let's say. If I get ball down, stays down, force. It's not ball down, stays down, force, be ready to fill. All of those things come second. It's like we talk about linebackers. If he pulls, follow. If he doesn't, fill. I'm late to the pass. Defending the pass is a teachable moment for linebackers who already know how to defend the run. Like, you don't need to worry about defending the pass with your linebacker. They'll be late to it. You don't need to worry about that until they can stop the run. Because I tell you right now, if that kid's sitting there or backpedaling from 5 yards, you're terrible.
Yeah.
If he's not great defending the pass, you're terrible if he's standing there at 5 yards taking away the pop pass, right?
I think about this all the time on the offensive line as well. When we start working things like gap down backer or zone counts and reads, like working with offensive line and giving them a single thing to do that's nice and clean and rules based, right? And so you don't have a whole bunch of ASCAs, you don't have a whole bunch of assignments.
Much cleaner on the offensive line.
We have a lot of alignments because we tag the crap out of, and we go tackle over, we go guard and tackle over. We do some fun stuff, but we ensure that the other 3 letters are ridiculously simple because of all of our alignment changes we like to do with every position on offense, but specifically O-line. So, we kind of got into that rules-based blocking and everything just simplifies back out. But I've even got to the point where I don't want to run zone at all. I just want to run gap scheme, like just to keep it that much more simple so we can just go fast, kind of it's your entire philosophy with the coach simple play fast win, right? Like that's where we've gotten with our O-line. Not that we can't run some zone scheme from time to time, but it's like a whole other thing I got to teach kids.
Well, I hear guys struggling with zone or anything on offensive line. And it's like, well, how do you teach them? Well, if he does this, we do this. But if this guy does this, we do this. And if this guy does this, we do this. If I'm an uncovered lineman in outside zone, right, the first thing that I do is run 3 steps flat and try to knock the covered lineman off. Yeah. And one of 2 things. That's my key. That's my aiming point. Try to knock him off. And on the 3rd step, that's where my assignment comes in. If I can knock him off, I overtake the down guy. If I can't, I turn up and go find a linebacker.
Yeah,
that's it. So the assignment, we try to make sure the assignment is basically off of the key. So the key tells us one thing, which splits into 2 potential assignments.
Right.
Right. It's, if this, then this, if this, then that. But not if. It's like if it's a run, force. If it's a pass, flat. Corners, we take that out completely if we're a cover 3 or cover 1 because of the stay in coverage, right? We say, look, if it's a pass, like their read is more like 3-step or 5-step. Like I'm looking for hitch or fade through the first 3 steps, and then I'm staying over top.
Sure.
Like a receiver, their aiming point, their ASKA, so their key is the steps on that route if they're running a route. So like if I'm running a curl, my aiming point, my key, if you get more advanced, your key can be adjusting off of leverage and that kind of stuff. But initially it's like my key is 7 steps or 9 yards or whatever it is. And then, eyes back to the quarterback. My assignment is catch the ball, right? It's not, so that's really simple for them. What's your assignment? Run this route, catch the ball.
If you are a younger coach and maybe you're not the coordinator, head coach, whatever, so you can't set this lingo, right? You can't make the other coaches switch to talk like this. At least the ASCA gives you a checklist to go to your coordinator and say, I'm coaching strong safeties. I need to know in this week's game plan or whatever, like what's our base look like, and then game plan. Why I know defense changes, right? It's very reactionary, but that ASCA should stay intact no matter what. And then you can probably minimalize it by grouping things together, right? You just got trips, you got twins, you got a solo receiver, you got a nub. That's kind of your life as a strong safety or outside safety type of coach.
Pro twins nub, that's it.
Maybe you see quads or something ridiculous. I know we do that.
So
we'll throw 5 receivers out there, but generally you just got to get those.
That's always a specialty thing, but yeah,
absolutely. And so the good thing about ASK is you can go to that coordinator and say, I teach this position. I can't change the way that you guys speak. You don't have to say all this. This is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But you just say, hey, I need to know this checklist.
This is what do I say to them?
Yes. And now you have the words he's teaching in the big picture, but you're doing it in the finer points. And that way your kids don't ever, like you said earlier, Joe, you use these words and don't use other words. You can't go say box and force and contain and all of these words that mean the same thing because we are a spill force defense.
I think it's funny. Coaches will do this, and they're not bad coaches, and they're not. And I'm sure they've done it before. I've probably done it before. But a coach let's say you got a coach who's used contain their entire career.
Yeah.
And you bring them on staff, and you say we force. This is the words we use. Force a change. And I've seen coaches who will go out there and go to the kids and go like, you force, that means contain. Like the kids have this knowledge, but this coach who's always heard contain is like, well, of course these 13-year-olds understand contain. It's like, no. They don't know anything. They know nothing. I don't care if they learned it last year. They don't remember it.
Right.
Like they don't. If you want football IQ, say the same words that matter to the kids that you have right now over and over and over and over again, explain them in the same context and make sure nobody else uses any words. Football IQ is irrelevant as far as outside of your program. Oh, can he go have a conversation with Bill Belichick? I don't care. Is he going to know the words that his college coach says to him next year? That's his problem. If he can't coach football IQ, that's his. Why the hell does he have that job? Football IQ is what does he need to know on my team right now so that we can communicate what matters quickly on the sidelines, make adjustments, understand what's going on. And then, football IQ also carries over to not doing the dumb stuff like, your team, like the guy that's on the punt return team going and touching a punt that was supposed to be down, that kind of stuff. Like that's just
right.
That kind of stuff. Not not jumping a ball at 9 yards that's sitting there spinning on the ground on an onside kick. Like that's the kind of stuff that's like football IQ that you got to teach. But just onside every time. Your kids will learn those rules quick.
Dropped my first big F-bomb into a crowd because a kid watched a ball roll to his toes on onside kick. So
nice.
It holds a special place in my heart.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like, but the important thing here, as we're talking about, you're the position coach and you're not sure. Don't go to the coordinator and say, this is I need to know the ASCA, because they'll be like,
right.
What?
They don't know what the hell that is.
And then the last thing you want to say is, I heard it on the internet, or I heard it on a podcast, because the guys who don't do research and study and listen to podcasts and stuff will be like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, I mean, okay, whatever.
You do you, boo-boo.
You go and you say those exact things we just said. Where does he stand? How does he stand there? Okay. And if you get short answers, be dumb. Okay. Don't be annoyed if you get answers like, well, he's in his stance. Be dumb. How does he get in his stance? Which hand is down? Which foot is back? Which foot? Where do his feet go? How deep is he? Be dumb. Be dumber than you. No offense to you guys that have coordinators who don't have all of this stuff figured out. No offense. I say no offense to you guys. No offense to the guys that you work for. They're not dumb, but I'm going to say this just for the sake of argument, sake of making it. If you want to learn from dumb guys, you got to be dumb. Okay. You can't go in being super smart to try to learn from a dumb guy. When I say dumb guy, I mean willfully ignorant, or who just doesn't know. Okay. It doesn't know all the things that we know because we put a lot of time and effort and thought into this. And I talk about you listening to this podcast because you're putting that work in. We know that there are details, and not everybody is into details. We know details matter. We know that this stuff has to be thought out. And so you say, where does he stand? How does he stand? We can say, why does he stand there? Who does he look at? When he's looking at that guy, what is he looking for him to do? What are the things he could do? What if he does this? What if he does that? And then you very well may get 10,000 different responses. So if you start to go through, all right, who does he look at? And he says, you're talking about a linebacker, and the guy you're working for says the guard. And you say, what does he do if he down blocks? And he says one thing. And then you say, what does he do if he reach blocks? And he says another thing. And you say, what does he do if he base blocks? And he says another thing. And then you say, what does he do if he just spins around in a circle? And he says another thing. And what does he do if he pulls this way? And what does he do if he pulls that way? And every single one of them has another word and another thing. You then look at that and go, I'm dumb. I'm not sure that I can teach these kids how to do all of these things because I'm dumb. Not because you're dumb, not because the kids are dumb, but I'm dumb. And that seems like a lot. Can we simplify this? Is it that much different if he karaoke steps left and right than if he just kind of shuffles? Can we combine a couple of these things? Can we combine it down to if he pulls, can we get it all the way to if he pulls, he follows, if he doesn't, he fills, and then I pick up the back in the backfield? If you can, great. Probably not, but you're going to try to start to simplify it with the guy.
For sure. Another thing about ASKA is that if you're installing this now and kind of looking at the bigger picture here, like you can take this and make it a lingo that everyone can follow. And sometimes it starts with one guy kind of being the wedge and breaking status quo, right? You talked about just now. What if I've got 7 assignments based on one guard key read? He can't do 7 different things. How can I have that many assignments, right? Offensive side as well, right? If you're talking outside zone, inside zone, whatever, you can't have 35 things for your running back to do after he gets the ball in his hand. He's got to make a decision. You're going to yell at him if he dances around the backfield. So why are you giving him a whole dance remix of things that he might have to do, right? So it's just all about simplifying. But I think this ASKA, one, if you're a new coach, you can learn what your position group's actually supposed to do and start speaking to them on a high school level, regardless if your DC has 30 years of experience and can speak with NFL coaches and talk all the game he needs, it allows you to get it back to that high school level where they can be very simple, think quickly, play fast. But I think it just leads to like a tidal wave of simplicity, especially, I mean, offensive too, but I always think of ASKA with defense, and just because that's how I learned.
It started on defense, yeah.
Yeah. But man, when you get to simplifying 11 kids' jobs, and you get to simplifying, I guess they rate like 2 to 11 coaches' jobs. I mean, how many defensive coaches you have? And now we can all kind of mix that same language. Man, life gets so much easier, right? Because I tell my DBs all the time, like, you need to know where your help is, right? When you're in coverage, where's your help? Because there's areas of the field you don't have to cover. Well, if I can put that back into ASCA, what is your assignment? What is his assignment? And his coach is speaking the same lingo, and now we're all kind of working those together. I just think it makes it all fit so much better than everyone out there trying to say, oh, but if I'm saying force and the coach on the other side is saying contain, and he's outside backers and I'm safeties, and it just, hopefully your defensive end coach is not having to say force or contain to their defensive end. But some people do like to box the defensive end, so it does happen. I don't love it. I'm completely against it, but you know, it happens. So anyway, that's what I really like about it, is you can get like this full system. That's what we came here talking about, like getting all the coaches on the same page. Sometimes just being able to communicate that very, very simplistic. Yep. There's a whole bunch of words there. And kind of start that trend.
There's so many advantages to it too, as you get it system wide and you start to look at, you know, how many times do you have a coach who's coaching another, you know, the receivers coach, you know, going back to the offensive side, you've got a receivers coach who goes, why didn't he throw it to such and such? He was open. Well, if he knew the quarterback's ASCA, which is, you know, we just think about the quarterback's, you know, progression, but it's like the quarterback has an alignment. You know, is he pistol? Is he gun? Is he 5 yards? Is he 4 yards? His stance is his inside, is his play side foot back, or is his feet balanced? You know, we have problems with tall quarterbacks who stand up too tall and need to squat down to receive the snap more. We have problems with, you know, all these sorts of things. Alignment, which your quarterback should be looking, alignment, your quarterback should be looking at the alignment of everybody, especially the backfield. Then that alignment for the quarterback, as far as the pre-snap checklist, is probably checking to make sure all his receivers are set up before he goes in his cadence and all that stuff. Then he goes into his pre-snap. Then he goes into his, his stance. Then he goes into his communication, which is his audibles, his checks, his cadence. Obviously, for the quarterback, very important. He needs to go through his cadence and that as well. He has key reads to look at. So let's say we're throwing a quick hitch. Okay. The guy goes, he was wide open on the fade on the left. And it's like, well, that fade was a conversion. We had a hitch called, and his rule is if he sees a hitch, throw a hitch. So he looked out, and his key to the right was 9 yards off. He's throwing that hitch. Like, that's a simplification, but he understands that, you know, see a hitch, throw a hitch. That's my assignment. Okay. What's the key read? The corner. The corner was off, throw a hitch. Like right now, boom. Or he doesn't, you know, the key read for the quarterback extends through the progression, right? You know, the progression is usually, for us, it's either we have 4. We have horizontal stretch underneath, we have horizontal stretch vertical, we have or horizontal stretch deep, we have vertical, and then we have object receiver. And then from there, the route concepts are inside breaking route, read it inside out, outside breaking route, read it outside in, and then vertical stretch, we read deep to short. And so those rules for the quarterback, that's the progression, and it tells him the key, who to look at, and, you know, where to find that grass. And so if everybody understands that, they're not going, well, the quarterback didn't do this, because they understand, or we all know it. We don't need to yell it, because we can turn around and go, buddy, you coach the offensive line. I know. Okay. I know it's an inside breaking route. What upsets me, I get more upset. I get a lot less upset when somebody uses the correct words to tell me how bad the quarterback is. If I'm the quarterback coach, or I'm the offensive coordinator, and the offensive line coach or the receivers coach at least uses the right words to tell me it was a horizontal stretch. It was a horizontal stretch with an inside breaking route. He was supposed to read it inside out, and the inside receiver was open. Blah blah blah. Like, at least at least we're using the right words. You're not yelling catch the ball or throw the ball or something ridiculous like that. That just bothers me. At least if I get everybody yelling something that's actually corrective, that would be great. Just stop talking to the center about his snaps. Please, God, stop talking to the center about his snaps. I mean, 9 people going, get the snap up. He knows.
He does know.
So anyway, yeah, like it can be transformative across the board because everybody now starts to understand the right words to use with guys, or at least to know, hey, we have words we use with these guys, and they're not catch the ball or block somebody or wrap up. Like those words aren't in our vocabulary. Like if I have a guy, like I know if I know our umbrella run fits and I know everybody's job, and I have one guy who's out in space on his own against a receiver, I either know that he didn't take the right angle or the right leverage, and that's why he missed the tackle, or somebody else wasn't there. But if he's one-on-one, it's not on him to make a tackle in open space. It's on him to direct it to his help, and it's on his help to get there. And like if I understand the ASKA and the umbrella run fits, I can make that happen. That's program-wide communication, unit-wide communication, that just everybody speaking that language and understanding that language is so much better when you have guys that aren't on the same page and don't like the worst thing is if they go out and say the wrong words to their own position group. But then it's when they start saying the wrong things to the other position groups because they don't, or maybe to the other coaches because they don't understand what that position group does. Simplify your ASKA to where everybody can learn everything. We have a more limited time to do it with high school because we're not college coaches where we do this is all we do. We do this all day. We can meet all summer or whatever, but we coach other sports. We got weight room. We got all that sort of stuff. We don't have strength coaches. We don't have all that stuff. We got to recruit the building. We got to handle academics. We got to handle fundraising. But if we can simplify to where we all use the same words, it's just such a better atmosphere. And so much better for the kids. That's the ultimate thing. It's so much better for the kids.
It's it is a great way to just get that communication down and like you said, using the right words, using the same words. It makes you look better as a coaching staff. I've had coaches that coached under me as a coordinator. They go work for other people and they're furious because the simplicity is gone. Or if you get under a defensive coordinator that just wants to blitz linebackers all the time, like it's almost like he doesn't know his own linebackers of key reads and assignments, right? Like, because at some point you go,
yeah,
dude, if you'll just let them read, we can make some tackles here. But because you're blitzing them every time, there's no read anymore. They have no read in one assignment. And when it's not right, you're taking them out of the play.
And that clarifies blitzing, like makes an understanding of blitzing is exactly what you said. If you blitz a guy, he can only do one thing in one gap. And it can make things happen, but you have to understand the risk reward of it. And if you don't fix the real problem, which is not key reading, then, and it may be because he's not a good key reader. It may be because you haven't emphasized to the linebackers coach how important the key reads are or what the key reads are, or you haven't simplified the key reads, or you're changing the key reads every week because you see a key read on film that you think is really going to work. And you go, this week we're playing a wing tee, so we're going to cross key. And it's like, that's cool. He's never cross key before. He doesn't have a clue what that is. And you go, this week we're going to key the back. This week we're going to tackle. This week we're going to guard. He's never looking at the same thing. It's not becoming muscle memory for him. And so what do? You go, well, he can't key read. If he pulls, follow. If he doesn't, fill. Everybody can do that.
Yep.
If you work it enough, it's not automatic.
The kind of the last point I'll make here, and we're just about to close it up time anyway, but I think this also is a great way to keep from over communicating with kids, right? So there's in the coaching world defensively, we know, Joe, especially with the way that we play defense, right? We got spill and force. You don't in a 4-2-5, you've got 6 guys or 7 if he's rolled down in there, that and maybe 8 if you're playing cover 3. You actually get to keep both outside backers, but the offense can make way more gaps than that, and you can't fit them all, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we understand that. So I, as a coach, know that I'm eliminating gaps in different ways, whether it's with my key reads. If he pulls follow, I've eliminated a backside gap. I'm not going to go fill backside B gap because the guard just pulled all the way across the formation. I know they're adding a gap to the other side of the formation. I'm going to go fill it with a linebacker's body because of his key read. But that's a fairly complex thing to try to teach some high school kid, and I don't need him thinking about that. I don't need him worried about, boy, I better eliminate a gap here. No. ASKA allows you to take very complex football things and simplify it, right? I'm a big Cody Alexander fan. I have been for years now. And I love listening to him talk defense because it's at my level. It's very technical. We're using. He's even simplified it now, because he's gotten to work with high school kids so much, where he's teaching, like carry, match, deliver, or whatever. So that's even more simple than what I took out of him the first time I read his books and listened to his podcasts or his YouTube page, stuff like that. But I don't need a kid going and looking up Cody Alexander and buying the book and reading it and learn all the intricacies of a defense to stop trips with cover 3, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what I need. I need you to have a very simple ASCA, and I need you to just do the one thing that I've told you to do versus this formation. And maybe I have a few play calls, right? That's the other things. We've not watered this down where you can only run cover 3 and your corner only knows deep third. That's not what we're trying to do at all.
Right.
What we're trying to do is just quit having so many variables. I shouldn't have 30 things to think about before the ball is snapped. I see the formation, I align, I do the one thing that I'm supposed to do, or two. I look at my key read, and he tells me this or that. Offense is the same way, right? If you want to go to your NASCAR package or your whatever your speed package is, it really shouldn't be any different for your players than every other play you've called, because you should simplify things down to their offensive version of ASCA. And now we can actually do it we can go up tempo all the time because we've simplified football back down for these kids.
And
I said that I'm a big tag guy, but
well, then you could like that's a great example is the tags. You can build on it too. Once you get this stripped down to the communication that you need to teach it. Let's say you've got a linebacker who's a 3 or 4 year starter. Well, he can learn different things to look at and different or more things to look at and more things to handle. He can learn to, think a little bit more on the field because he's at a level. Coach Simple doesn't mean everybody. Simple is not the same for everybody. If you do Coach Simple for a 1A school in Oklahoma, that's a lot different than if you're doing it for whatever, how many A's they have in it, 6A school in Atlanta, right?
Right.
Where you've got 2,800 kids in the school. We've got 200 kids and 9 of them are going to play Division I football. Like that looks a whole lot different and I got 22 coaches on staff, and those things look completely different. It's just not the same. And then you take it to the next level. I work with college coaches. I work with semi-pro coaches, kids with different levels of experience. Simple for our 8 and under youth programs that I work with is not the same as simple for an SEC team. God knows the NFL actually makes it simpler because they're so athletic. They're like, do not slow these guys down. God, other than the quarterback, everybody else, it's like simple, make it simple. You have more route adjustments and stuff, I'm sure. Offensive line, but like offensive line play. You talk about tempo. Teach offensive line. The base teaching that I have for offensive line is really, really simple. Like we start off with no covered, uncovered, and any sort of that. And so when they understand that, they can walk up there and just go like really, really fast. But then when we huddle, which we normally do, they can sit up there and they can problem solve, right? When they get really good at it, they can sit there and go, okay, that guy's going to do this. We're going to trio this. We're going to combo. We're going to bear this. We're going to, hey, bump me here. Let's do this. And like they can problem solve. They can get advanced when you're talking about a group of guys that have been together for 20 starts, 25 starts, 30 starts. So ASCA evolves, and it evolves for how long you've been with your staff. It evolves for how long you've been together as coaches, because you all are speaking the same language. You're walking around the same brain. That's the goal. And this is the starting point. This is how you get there.
Yeah, I love it. All right, guys, tonight we talked about coaching staff not being on the same page. Once again, we're really worried about communication here. Take your scheme problems to your coordinator. And if it's that bad, just come work with me. It'll be fun. We talked about how to install a program-wide communication system using ASKA. We had talked how the ASKA can, regardless of your role, can really define what you're trying to do with the kids that you're coaching. And then we can, try to use that, break the status quo and really make it a team-wide communication system. Last week's topic, we talked about how to beat teams with more talent. Next week, we're going to talk a lack of toughness and physicality. These are all going to be great episodes, especially you guys get into your summer pride and you're going to start lifting and working out, running. Mental toughness is going to be the big thing you're all attacking next, right? Because whatever you're doing in the summer, your kids are never going to be mentally tough enough for you. And then, of course, we're going to get into the fall pretty quick. So send these episodes out to a friend, okay? The podcast wants to spread. We want to help more coaches. The best way you can help us do that is to send it to a coach that's in need. So maybe they have a ridiculously complex thing they're trying to do, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just a new coach that needs some guidance.
Maybe it's just somebody with a long commute.
There you go. Maybe it's somebody that just needs to fill time.
Needs to kill time.
I love it. Joe, let's pay the bills one more time, and then we'll close this out.
Yeah, again, the difference between championship and a championship defense and a defense that's struggling is not luck. It is the system. We've talked a lot about putting that in place, getting your system in place so you're not scrambling around every week. You're not scrambling to fix problems. You're not confusing your players. You're speaking the same language. Your assistants are all on the same page. You're not playing from your heels. All the coaches that we've worked with, many of them are making the same mistakes and overcomplicating football, miscommunicating, and a lot of things that we've talked about in this episode. Once we get those coaches putting a real defensive system in place, getting their communication straight, everything changes. The players are playing faster. They're playing with more confidence. The coaches have more confidence. You're winning more games. I put together my free guide to make this happen for you called What You Need to Know to Build Your Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. It's a guide that gives you the blueprint for building a defensive system that works to simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. You can download it now for free at joedanielfootball.com/system. Take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season. joedanielfootball.com/system.
I love it. Real quick, I want to talk about adaptable physical therapy. That is the clinic that my wife and I own in Grove, Oklahoma. That is Northeast Oklahoma. We are like the same distance from Tulsa as we are Joplin, as we are Rogers, Bentonville, and Arkansas. So if you're a coach in that area, my wife is going to be the answer for all the things that ail you physically. We talk on the podcast a lot how we're kind of a different thinking set of coaches, right? We're not super old school. It isn't my way or the highway. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly learning. We're doing things new and simple and easy, making it better for everyone. And my wife's doing the same thing in physical therapy. She's hooked up with a group called ICE, Institute of Clinical Excellence. They are worldwide, and they are very progressive. Look, if you go to some physical therapists, you are going to do very little weight. You're going to do some very minimal exercises, maybe some body weight stuff, and you're never really going to get better. You're going to run out of days before you feel better. My wife is going to put you on a squat rack. She's going to have you doing something weighted. She's going to get you better very, very quickly. We have had people leave all the other PT groups in our area and come to us because the word is finally spreading that Dr. Samantha Chamberlain knows what the heck she's doing and she's getting people better. I almost said athletic speed movement. Adaptablephysicaltherapy.com. Don't go to adaptablept.com. That's someone in like Pennsylvania. They think they're cool like us. They're not. If you're in Pennsylvania, maybe they are. I don't know. But Adaptable Physical Therapy, Northeast Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. All you people are very welcome to come. Reach out. You can, I think there's a way to sign up online. So go to the website or Google it and just call the number. I don't know it by heart. I'm not the physical therapist. She is. Google it, call the number. It'll be great for you. Sweet. What sales are opening and closing, Joe? This
no
comes
idea
out
right now.
the 24th.
Move on. Just move on.
Moving on. Social media. I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter /X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. I'm open to talk all the things, anything Joe's selling, athletic speed and movement, adaptable physical therapy. Hit me up. We'll talk about it. I do have a website, chamberlainfootballconsulting.com. And then, of course, the Patreons where I am helping coaches do coach things. If you need to celebrate your players with graphics, if you want to know how to run Photoshop or Adobe Premiere, if you just want to get on Canva and mess around and make announcements, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, we're helping with one group that's building an entire class. Like, we're going to help build out an entire class on how to run Photoshop and Adobe Premiere. So if you have been tasked to be this year's whatever for a semester, you're going to be media, reach out to Cameron Palmer. He's the same guy at his school right now. So we're helping people do cool things all over the place. Anyway, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Joe, where are you at, sir?
I am at joedanielfootball.com and at Joe Daniel at Joe Daniel Football on Instagram and the TikTok, and football. There's facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football. Joe Daniel Football everywhere except for Twitter, X, where I am at Football Info. And you can email Joe at joedanielfootball.com. Don't send questions and stuff because you're probably not going to get an answer. I mean, you can. I have a hard enough time responding to emails to begin with. But if you have, systems or something like that, you want to know what products and stuff, I can probably help you with that, or one of our team can. But if you send a question about cover 2, probably not going to work out. So, but yeah, joedanielfootball.com is the big place to be.
Perfect. The podcast is at the FBCP on Twitter/X. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher, specifically, or most of the time, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Been listening for a while. It's time to leave a review. We want your 5-star reviews. Reviews, just like sharing this with your friends. Reviews help us spread the word. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.